Today is Tuesday, June 27th, 2023. This is a regular meeting of the Kings County Board of Supervisors. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Here.
Richard Valley is absent. Doug Verboon.
Here.
Rusty Robinson.
Here.
Richard Fagundes.
Okay, we have 4 members present. We're ready to conduct business today. At this time, I would like to invite Pastor Sylvia Gathone, Koinonia Church, for invocation. Thank you, Sylvia.
Good morning, gentlemen of the board. Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, our God in heaven, I'd like to pray Galatians 5 over this board and every leader in this room. Father, I pray that you would give them love for each other, for this community, for their coworkers, Lord, for everyone that they come in contact with and make decisions for, even the most unlovable, God, let there be love in their hearts for them. And I pray you bring them joy in their hearts for the work that they do, the work that they do here, joy in their homes and with their families and other relationships. God, I pray peace over this county, my Father, peace over every one of us, and peace in our homes, Lord. And I pray patience with those who challenge us the most. And most of all, God, I pray kindness and goodness into each person that hears my voice. Kindness and goodness for one another. Kindness and goodness in the decisions that we make. And faithfulness, Lord. Gentleness and self-control. Lord, I pray gentleness over everything that we do. Give us your heart, Father. Give us your heart. I pray self-control over us, Lord, that we do not get sucked into temptation, Lord, that you keep us on the righteous path. And Father, above all things, I pray that you give us your love in our hearts for every thought that we have, for every word that comes out of our mouth, and every action that we conduct. Go before us this day, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen.
At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Supervisor Joe Nevs.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On June 18th, Kings County lost a pioneer with the passing of Aline Taylor. Aline was the first lady to serve on this Board of Supervisors in 130 years. During her time, the 198 Expressway was worked on, the new county jail, water system in El Rancho, and many community projects across the county. Please join me in a moment of silence in memory of Aline Taylor.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Thank you.
Please follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And
to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, we'll go to unscheduled appearances. Anybody can address the board at this time. Do we have any written?
I don't have any written correspondence, and the only speaker card that I have is Scott Garrison.
Scott? Morning.
Scott Garrison, President, Local 3747 Firefighters Association. I'm going to read to you, gentlemen, a little thing I put together. So first of all, good morning. I'm here today to talk about the current status of Kings County Fire Department. As many other departments have shared with their issues regarding recruitment and retention, we are also in a similar situation. With the current budget allotted for the fire department, it is not enough to make the salaries for our personnel competitive to recruit and retain quality people. We are looking to hire professional firefighters who are skilled to have a skill set that needs to be recognized and paid for accordingly. We have had a large number of vacancies over the years, and we are still struggling to fill the positions. This is a huge burden both physically and mentally for the men and women currently working in the field, which has resulted in many leaving for other departments and many others with significant injuries. We understand that this is a problem for other departments within the county, and we are not asking to take anything away from them. We're just asking the county to recognize the sacrifice and efforts of the Kings County Fire personnel and that they are properly funded, our departments, so that we can appropriately comprehend or pay and retain and recruit quality employees. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience or anybody else online that would like to speak?
I have just no one with their hands raised.
Anybody in the audience like to say anything? Very good. We'll move on now to approval of minutes. Item A, report out of closed session from special meeting for June 16th, 2023.
There is nothing to report.
Thank you. Item B, report out of closed session regarding regular meeting, June 20th, 2023.
There is nothing to report.
Item C, approval of the minutes from a special meeting, June 16th, 2023.
Nevs moves.
Moved by Supervisor Neves, second by Supervisor Fagundes. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Doug Verboon,
Yes,
Rusty Robinson,
Yes.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
we have 4 in favor. That has been approved. Item D, approval of the minutes from regular meeting, June 20th, 2023.
So move.
Moved by
Second.
Supervisor Fagundes, second by Supervisor Neves. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Doug Verboon,
Yes.
Rusty Robinson, Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
Okay, 4 in favor. We'll move on now to consent calendar. One item has been pulled to put on regular agenda, which is on Behavioral Health Department, item A, number 7. Is there any other item that would like to be discussed by any board member?
I have a quick question. In regards to the Public Works, it says recommendations award the bid to purchase traffic paint to Ennis Flint Incorporated. And later on, it refers to them as International Coatings Company. I was just wondering which one's correct.
It's my understanding that International Coatings Company is correct. With that in mind, it appears that it would be most prudent to pull this item from the consent calendar so it can be properly agendized with the recommendation, including the proper contractor.
You want to just pull or you want to vote on to pull it?
Let's just pull it.
So item A7 will be pulled, item F3 will be pulled. It is put on regular agenda item. If there's no question or comments, I'll accept a motion.
Motion approved.
Motion by Supervisor Robinson, second by Supervisor Fagundes. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Doug Verboon,
Yes.
Rusty Robinson,
Yes.
Richard Fagundes.
Okay, 4 in favor. We'll move on now to regular agenda items. And would you like us to take up those first two now, or do you want to wait and put them on the end?
Let's go ahead and do the remainder of the consent calendar, and then we
Okay.
can take those other two up later.
Well, the regular agenda item calendar.
Yes.
Okay, we'll go right now for item A, which is Assessor Clerk Recorder, Christina Lee. Good morning, Christina.
Good morning, board members. Christy Lee, Kings County Assessor, Clerk Recorder. So this morning I'm bringing to you an update to Article 5 of Chapter 22 of the County Code of Ordinances titled Reassessment for Property Damaged or Destroyed by Misfortune or Calamity. The update will allow the assessor to proactively address values of damaged properties and remove the requirement for property owners to show the value immediately after the damage or destruction. Article 5 of the County Code of Ordinances was put in place December 26, 1984, with updates made in 2011 based on the laws included in Section 170 of the California Revenue and Taxation Code. In 2023, the County of Kings is experiencing unprecedented flooding in which citizens are facing significant damage to their properties. By proactively recognizing the financial burdens that may ensue, my office is requesting approval to amend the calamity ordinance to allow for property reassessments without requiring property owners to first file a claim form. Doing so will allow the county to act more expediently in providing victims with relief and ensure that the small farms and other properties do not forego reassessment merely because the owners are unaware of the current requirements. I'm also requesting elimination of language stating that the application must show the value of the property immediately after damage or destruction. This may be impossible for property owners and create an undue burden. Updates to the ordinance do not directly create a fiscal impact, but potential calamity relief impacts from the 2023 flood are unknown at this time, but are anticipated to range from $1 million to $3 million per year of general fund revenue from property taxes for periods when flooding into the Tulare Lake Basin and surrounding areas occurs. Other recipients of property tax revenue, such as schools and special districts, will be affected up to the estimated maximum of 12 million for the 23-24 fiscal year. The allocation of school bonds and other fees may be impacted as well. So far, the flooding hasn't come to the fruition of what we first anticipated. So those numbers are basically based on the 100-year FEMA flood map, worst case scenario. Right now, we have 677 parcels that are underwater. That's 126,514 acres, and it's $162,371,661 in property values. We have already issued $130,000 in reduction, or $130 million in property reductions. And so in the current area, there is still about $30 million in value left. That encompasses about 470 parcels. And that's because most of those parcels are rather small. And due to the Williamson Act and low base year values, the parcels are relatively low in value for each individual one. So my recommendation is to introduce and waive the first reading of the proposed ordinance governing reassessment for property damaged or destroyed by misfortune and calamity.
Thank you. Any question or comments? I have a couple questions. So this property underwater today, if it is dry and they're farming it next year, does it revert back to the old taxation code?
Yes, thank you.
And then so being how we are a product of a disaster at the county by not receiving income off this property for revenue for property tax, are we available for FEMA funding to offset our losses?
That's a great question. And I did ask Kyria or Ms. Martinez that question previously, and she said at this time we are not. There isn't a backfill of property tax revenue by FEMA.
Okay, any question or comments?
I do have some good news I could add, though. So even though we do have these reductions in sight, our first anticipation of the county roll, which we closed yesterday, was that there would be a reduction of the county roll by up to 6%. That would basically be if Corcoran had flooded and other areas that were in that FEMA flood zone. But we actually are increasing the county roll. The staff has been working really hard to make sure all the transfers and new properties have been assessed to offset that flood. And it resulted in an 8.5% increase in the roll. So this year is actually going to be a really good year financially for the county. But I would caution that maybe some of that should be put in contingencies for next year.
And so we won't feel the pain from this one until next December 10th and April 10th of 2024, correct?
Of 2024, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I guess I just we have one question with the property being a reduction in assessment, but the products that come off of that is also going to result in the granary not processing grain, the tomatoes not processing tomatoes, and all of the other crops. How does that play into, you're going to reduce the assessment on the property that's directly affected, but there's going to be a lot of industries that are indirectly affected.
Correct. Yeah, that's a very good point. That a lot of people are feeling the loss from jobs and their livelihoods. And that could potentially qualify for FEMA relief.
Yeah.
That's, I think, an area that's being worked on. My understanding is there has been some FEMA relief granted, but to individuals, it has not yet. Perhaps Carrie could answer.
Yes, that is correct. We still have not been added to the individual assistance. So FEMA does provide assistance for affected individuals and families. However, right now we are only eligible for public assistance.
Correct. Yeah, and that's unfortunate because, like I say, the guy that sells the fuel, that sells the tires, that sells the fertilizer, that sells the seed, those guys are affected just as much as the property owner. And so, that ripple effect is going to go across the county, whether they have a Corcoran address or not.
Talked to one fertilizer company, they're down 60%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it's unfortunate, and I think we probably should work on that side of the equation. And even though the property owners are a very important key factor of that, but all of the economy is going to suffer as a result of not having that land in production.
So there's a per acre cost the growers put in, maybe with Jimmy Hook put together a formula, or, get out to each and every business and let us know what their losses are, or let's give them where they can file with FEMA. See if they can offset their losses
Yeah,
if they're affected.
and start working through the lobbyist and try to get some reimbursement for some of that cost, because some have had to move fields. Some fields weren't ready, and some shifted their cropping patterns from cotton to tomatoes. So there have been some changes, but
Quick question.
A lot of that is being reported to on the county tracking.
right.
So people are submitting information to say what exactly had happened on their property and what damages have been caused by the floods. So, and also the Ag Commissioner's Office is keeping a good eye on that as well.
Are we short on that individual status based upon the dollar amount or the number of individuals, or what basis?
The amount of structures damaged,
Amount of structures.
correct. A suggestion,
And that's unfortunate too, because there was a lot of levees built, there were a lot of levees improved. There's a lot of roadways that were damaged because of hauling dirt and hauling everything else. And so, it's too bad that it's just structures, because there was a lot of infrastructure that was damaged as a result.
a suggestion, if I can get consensus from your board, is to actually submit a letter from the board urging our legislators to help us get assistance and be added on to the individual assistance. I could do that this
Okay,
week.
I think that'd be good.
Absolutely, because there, like I say, there was a lot of dirt moved, and the county's gonna need a lot of help with the roads and bridges and infrastructure.
And as a grower, you don't harvest your crop in October and get paid in October. You get paid throughout the next 12 to 16 months for that crop. So the growers that are not farming don't have that expense of farming right now, but they'll feel the pain this time next year.
Right.
Right.
And especially when the taxes come due.
Right.
And then that's gonna hurt school bonds and everything else that's affected to that value. So
Yep.
it's gonna start affecting, school districts and other, other funding. Right now, we're looking at a lot of mosquito abatements, and mosquito abatement, that revenue is gonna go down next year as a result of this. So, it's all gonna have a ripple effect.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve? Moved
So move it, Chair.
moved by Supervisor Neves, second by Supervisor Robinson. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Doug Verboon,
Yes.
Rusty Robinson,
Yes.
Richard Fagundes.
Four in favor. Thank you, Christie.
Thank you.
We'll move on now to item B, Behavioral Health Department. Who do we have today? Lisa Lewis? You guys all looking at each other like,
We have so many, we weren't sure which one you were talking about. Katie Ernst is with us. Katie is presenting on this item and she's via WebEx today. So I'll introduce Katie. Go ahead, Katie.
that's a nice office.
Oh, why, thank you so much. Good morning, Supervisor Verboon, Board of Supervisors. Can you hear me okay this morning?
Yep, you sound good.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I am here to request your approval of an amendment to the county's agreement 20-154 with Aspiranet. Through this current agreement, which was approved by our board on August 10th of 2021, Aspiranet provides the highest level of outpatient treatment for children and youth in the community, which is called Full Service Partnership, in addition to access to the state mandated Family Urgent Response System, which we address as FERS. Through this agreement, the Full Service Partnership Program that Aspiranet provides serves up to 50 youth at any given time, including their families and caregivers. This is a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week operation where the team works with the youth, their families, their caregivers, the schools, in all of the places where the youth are, be it in the homes, parks, at school, or any place that would be best for the youth and family, in addition to at times that work best for them. During the third quarter of this year, so from January through March, 57 youth were served. And of those 57, 7 completed the program, which also includes meeting all of their treatment goals. For the first program, which Family Urgent Response System, this is also a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week operation that includes in-home or in-community de-escalation, stabilization, conflict resolution, and supportive services for youth who are currently or have previously at any time been in foster care, and their foster families as well. Calls come in through the state to a statewide hotline and then are dispatched locally to SBRNet here in Kings County for immediate connection to the youth or foster family and potential mobilization in the community. During the third quarter, also from January through March, there were 7 calls received. Of those 7, 2 of the calls were able to be supported through the telephone call in stabilization, and 5 of them, the team responded in person or mobilized in person. And of all 7 calls in quarter 3, all of them were able to be supported in the community without any additional supports from, say, going to Adventist Hospital or law enforcement. Sorry, all but 1, which did include additional interventions. Let's see here. So for this current fiscal year of 22-23, what this amendment does is that it increases the full service partnership budget, and it also includes the FERS program. Due to an oversight, the FERS program, which was included in this contract in fiscal year 21-22, was not included in the contract language for 22-23, so that remedies this. In addition, this amendment also extends the contract for an additional fiscal year and also includes an expansion of SBRNet's current 24/7 mobile response that includes mobile crisis response to all schools in Kings County, in addition to the child welfare services offices as well. We're very excited about this. This is the county's first pilot into having a mobile crisis program, with much more to come over the next year that we'll be bringing back to your board in terms of a countywide operation that's focused on all ages. In terms of budget, with these changes, should your board approve them, we anticipate no impact to the county general fund. The amended agreement for this fiscal year would be in the amount of $2,197,523. And then the amount for fiscal year 23-24 would be in the amount of $2,961,085. Expenses and revenues for this agreement are included in the department's fiscal year 23-24 recommended budget in Budget Unit 42200, also called the Mental Health Services Act. On WebEx, I have Melissa Henson, who's joining us from SBRNet. She just was recently promoted to the position of Assistant Core Division Director. Melissa's been with the local program for at least 4 years, I believe, and we're really fortunate to have her. With that, I am, and also the team that is there on site, very happy to address any questions you might have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Katie. Any questions or comments?
If there are no questions or comments, Mr. Chair, move for adoption.
Moved by Supervisor Neves, seconded by Supervisor Fagundes. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Doug Verboon,
Yes.
Rusty Robinson,
Yes.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
4 in favor. Item is passed.
Thank you.
Move on now to the second item. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Good morning Supervisor Verboen and members of the board. My name is Christy Lepke, and I am the Deputy Director of Administrative Services at Kings County Behavioral Health. I am before your board for the approval of adopting a resolution authorizing the payment of fees for a targeted media campaign to iHeartMedia Incorporated, retroactively effective from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. Kings County Behavioral Health works with iHeartMedia to assist in promoting and raising awareness of behavioral health services to communities in Kings County and has an existing agreement with iHeartMedia for 3 targeted media campaigns through June 30th, 2023. Specifically, iHeartMedia promotes messaging through radio stations such as KBOS 890, B95, KSOF 98.9, KHGE 102.7, KFSO 92.9, and CAL's Power Talk 96.7 and AM 1400, and through iHeart streaming. In late 2022, Kings County Behavioral Health had additional funding become available through the Alcohol and Prevention and Education. And this created an opportunity to partner with an existing event heavily attended by the community, which was the Winter Wonderland. Kings County Behavioral Health was able to quickly work with the City of Hanford, who hosts the event, to procure tickets and set up booth availability, with behavioral health and community programs to set up resource booths at select dates during the event to promote their services and programs, with iHeartMedia to promote how to obtain tickets and dates the resource booths would be available, and with schools, child welfare services, and other agencies and organizations to assist distributing some tickets to those who would otherwise not have been able to attend. The intent of the participation within this event was to promote the protective factors of community and connection and raise awareness of community and behavioral health services in sports. The more connected one is to supports around them and engaged in community activities, the greater their protective factors are, which can reduce the likelihood of adversity, promote healthy functioning despite adversity, and reduce the impact of adversity on health and well-being. The event booked 1,300 tickets and saw 11 community vendors and behavioral health programs partner together to showcase community services and supports. The fiscal year 2022-2023 contract with iHeartMedia was created early in the fiscal year based on known campaigns previously completed, which did not include Winter Wonderland. As such, Kings County Behavioral Health seeks the board's approval for the payment of fees associated with the campaign, which is $7,934, of which sufficient revenues for expenses were included in the department's 2022-2023 adopted budget and budget unit 422200 Mental Health Services Act. There is no impact to the county general fund. The department is currently working with county council, thank you on that, on the ability to contract with iHeartMedia in a manner that has not only pre-planned campaigns, but also room for additional campaigns as needed based on community need or departmental need to ensure ad hoc campaign flexibility moving forward. The request before your board is to adopt the resolution authorizing the payment of fees for a targeted media campaign to iHeartMedia Incorporated, retroactively effective July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. Thank you.
So what happens on July 2nd this year? Is it over again?
We have no campaigns that are being completed until such time we have the contract for 23-24 executed. We've been working with county council on really how do we set up language around being able to be flexible for ad hoc campaigns while also ensuring that we have performance measures built in that we can then measure the performance of the contractor. So it's kind of difficult finding the ability to have that kind of when you have ad hoc campaigns, being able to say, well, we're going to do campaigns based on community need. We don't know what that is right now, and we don't know what we'll want produced. Therefore, we don't have like performance metrics that we can put into the contract, albeit the campaigns run typically the same. It's just that when we have needs such as maybe a new program, if we have a new, the mobile crisis program come up in a period where we are not in a contract renewal, we can advertise like the number for the mobile crisis without having to do a contract amendment, things
Okay.
like that.
So this is more or less we're paying for what we've already gotten.
Yeah.
Okay, and we can't design it a year ahead of time because things change throughout the year. Okay, any question or comments?
Just a quick one. How come it took them 6 months to bill us? Is that normal?
No, they billed us in the beginning when we first procured it. And then we've learned that it was not covered in the contract. And then we worked with county council on how do we then amend the contract. During that time, the idea of amending the contract, because it was in January, we thought maybe there might be additional ad hoc needs. So we decided to start working on that ad hoc amendment for 22-23, and we just couldn't find the right language. So we stopped it and said, we'll just go ahead and do this resolution, move forward in the new fiscal year with those kind of other creative solutions.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any more questions or comments?
No question or comments. Go ahead and move, but I think maybe we should put this out to RFP in the future for, because iHeart does a good job, but there are other organizations. $27 a spot is a little bit high, but not, if they do the production and everything, it's probably in line. But
Mhm.
I think we probably should, as a county, maybe come up with some kind of an RFP that has some guidelines. Because the behavioral health isn't the only one that does that kind of advertising.
Mhm.
So we probably should come up with a policy and
Duly
a group
noted.
of individuals.
Will do.
Moved by Supervisor Nev, seconded by Supervisor Fagundes, with some language for future use.
Yes.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson. Richard Fagundes.
Okay, next item. Good morning.
Good morning, Supervisor Verboon and members of the board. My name is Amanda Verich. I'm the program manager over the contracts division at Kings County Behavioral Health. The item I bring before your board today is a request to approve a resolution for a grant with the California Health Facilities Financing Authority for investment in mental health wellness grant programs for children and youth. The grant award we are receiving will pay for capital startup costs and personnel for KCBH to develop its first community-based mobile crisis support team, which Katie mentioned during the Aspiranet presentation. This team is going to focus on children and youth while responding to Kings County schools and Kings County Child Welfare Services. Services will be triage and screening for suicidality, de-escalation, peer support, coordination with physical and mental health care providers, crisis planning, and follow-up. Since receiving the award letter, CHAFA is the awarding agency, that's the acronym, since that California Health Facilities Financing Authority is a mouthful, has indicated that in addition to the one-year funding that we were expecting to receive through the award letter, the annual personnel costs of $161,055 may be available for an additional term of 4 years beyond the program implementation date upon approval by the legislature to continue to offer this funding. This award likely sounds familiar, as we have brought items to your board at the end of 22 in September and December related to this agreement. The first agenda item before the board brought the agreement, but an accompanied resolution was required. The December 22 presentation rectified this issue by bringing a resolution before the board, but there are a few additional needs that we've become aware of since our last board presentation that are going to be clarified today. The additions added to the resolution before the board today include language to authorize the signatory to go ahead and sign additional documents besides the agreement, such as reimbursement requests and performance reports, which is a requirement of the CHAFA board, that those specific items be designated as we're doing business with them to get the meet all of the grant milestones. Additionally, this version went ahead and removed fixed dates since we've become available that additional funding may be available. If we had left the resolution as we did the last time, we would be holding ourselves to the original dates that were in there, and we needed to open that up to be flexible with the start of the program implementation. The awarding agency for this grant is a state agency that has a very meticulous board and approval process. Some of these clarifications were not specified in writing previously, and we became aware of them after meeting with the program staff after we were turning everything in after the December presentation. So these changes are going to help us minimize the need to go back for requests in the future performance of the grant. And they're also going to help us by resulting in the additional availability of a possible $644,220 in additional funds beyond the original award if the funding does remain available under that program. And as Katie mentioned during her presentation, programmatically, the department has developed an action plan to work with the contracted provider at SpearNet to oversee implementation of the mobile crisis support team, as this work fits similarly to the work that is being done by the contractor in the full service partnership and the family urgent response programs. Additionally, we're going to be returning to the board to request approval to purchase a vehicle for the mobile crisis support team, as the grant specifies that the county must own the vehicle purchased through the grant. To date, we've incurred no reimbursable expenses related to this grant, and we won't start until this final version is approved by the board in the resolution. The date on the agreement is back to February 2022, which I'd like to clarify is the date that we received the award letter from CHAFA, which they backdate for the start of the program. A copy of the resolution and the grant agreement is included in the agenda packet, and this resolution has been approved by County Council as to form. With that, I would request that your board authorize the Director of Behavioral Health or their designee to accept the grant agreement and sign the grant-related documentation with the California Health Financing Authority for investment in mental health wellness grant programs for children and youth retroactively from February 24th, 2022 through the availability of funding for the project. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have related to this item.
Thank you, Amanda. Any question or comments? Seems like it's Behavioral Health Day.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, if there are no questions, comments, Nev moves to adopt as presented.
Moved by Supervisor Neves, seconded by Supervisor Fagundes. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson.
Yes.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
4 in favor is passed. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
So at this time, I think we'll add item number A7 on here. Get
Yes, let's
behavioral
go
health out of the way.
That would be appropriate. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll be on
Item that
item
was pulled.
number A7 from the consent counter. Dr. Lewis.
Good morning, Supervisor Verboon and members of the board. I'm Lisa Lewis, Director of Kings County Behavioral Health. This morning, I'm here regarding Kings County Behavioral Health, seeking approval for the amendment to the agreement number 22-123 with the Judge Rottenberg Educational Center, JRC Incorporated, for residential treatment program services. We are requesting your approval for the first amendment to the agreement with Judge Rottenberg, Educational Center Incorporated for the residential treatment program services, effective date July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. There is no fiscal impact to the general fund. The amended agreement amount for this fee-for-service contract allows the maximum total of $476,660 for fiscal year 2023 to 2024. This includes authorized tuition costs based on a daily rate for services provided. Expenses under the agreement are included in the department's fiscal year 23-24 recommended budget, Unit 420000. Regarding background for this agreement, the board approved the agreement number 22-123 on August 9th, 2022 with JRC for a term of April 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2023 for residential treatment program services. The amendment to the agreement extends the terms for the agreement for an additional 1-year period and includes a budget increase due to the rate changes. Kings County Behavioral Health contracts with JRC located in Canton, Massachusetts for providing residential treatment to a Kings County resident. JRC operates educational and treatment programs for individuals with a variety of behavioral health disorders. These programs are provided in a 365-day residential program, a day program, and a respite program. The primary goal of services is to help residents meet their individual needs, their goals, and support residents to transition to less restrictive, independent living environments. The client continues to need the residential treatment provided by JRC, so an amendment is being sought to continue vital services through June 30th, 2024. Kings County has and will continue to communicate closely with JRC to assess the residents' continued need for treatment through this program. And I'd like to give some general background as well. Just as a majority of physical health needs in the general population are met through doctor's offices and primary care settings, a majority of all individuals who receive mental health services through Kings County Behavioral Health do so through outpatient services. This is the least restrictive setting and least costly. It is a state requirement for the department to serve individuals at the least restrictive setting and level. However, just as physical health care needs can elevate and require a move from a doctor's office to a higher level of care, specialists and inpatient hospitalizations, so can those with individuals with mental illness. KCBH develops specialized higher levels of care programs within our outpatient setting to make every effort to serve clients in the least restrictive setting. These programs are the Children and Adult Full Service Partnership Programs and our ACT team. When an individual client's needs go beyond that of outpatient services and settings, Kings County Behavioral Health is required to arrange for and pay for those placements. This includes, but is not limited to, when an individual may require psychiatric hospitalization under a 5150 hold or longer placement settings if the initial psychiatric hospitalization does not result in stabilization. This can be compared to the acute care health world, physical health world, in that if an individual is in an emergency room, they cannot be stabilized or discharged to the outpatient setting. They are then admitted to the floor or other hospitals applicable to that individual's medical needs, from the ER to, say, a burn unit or a rehabilitation center as examples. This search to locate clinically appropriate care for behavioral health is done in a radius search model, in that it is the intent to place the individual within the appropriate placement in the county if possible. And if there is no appropriate placement available within the county or beds are full, the search broadens until the appropriate placement option is identified and approves admission. Outpatient mental health services and psychiatric hospitals are primarily covered and thus reimbursed under one's insurance, including Medi-Cal. However, long-term placements, which are not exclusive to, but are primarily called IMDs, are not covered under insurance, and therefore the County Behavioral Health Department is not reimbursed through Medi-Cal. Per Welfare and Institution Code 5600 and Section 14053, County Behavioral Health Department is required to cover these costs through 1991 alignment funds, which is some of our primary funding from the state. In instances such as this case, there are times when individuals' illness are so acute and so complex that they need placement in highly specialized treatment centers. These centers, while quite clinically necessary, can be very costly. Without placement, these individuals may otherwise languish in services that are inappropriate and can require intervention from the county and the cities at a much higher level of cost. At this time, I'd like to also note that when we place our clients in residential settings like this, we work very closely with Child Welfare Services if the individual's in foster care, with the Office of Education if they are a student, with the managed care plans if they are specifically working on eating disorders and other health issues that are related to mental health disorders, and with the Public Guardian's Office for individuals who are conserved. So as I said, this client continues to need this level of residential care provided by JRC, and this agreement has been reviewed and approved by County Council as to form, and I'm available for any questions you may have.
Any questions or comments? Supervisor Robinson?
Thank you for taking the time to explain that a little bit better.
Absolutely.
When I read this, I was a little bit confused at first because I read it as one person and almost $500,000 to service one person.
Right.
So it seemed a bit excessive. You were kind enough to explain to me it is state money. In this case, I guess we're mandated, is that correct?
Yes.
To help this person?
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely. And we do have folks in state hospitals, which cost nearly as much, hundreds of thousands of dollars per year. And also sometimes when we need to, we had 3 specific clients in the last year that have needed very special kinds of treatment. For instance, treatment at UCLA for, I'm trying to say, eating disorder. So sometimes we work very closely with our partners in managed care so that they can pay the health part of it. If somebody's physical health is suffering, for instance, with eating disorders, the person may need help with their weight so that they're not close to death. And we work on the mental health side of it. So we work closely with our partners specifically on whatever the case may be.
So I know in our conversation, the term came up reasonable amount. When I looked at it, I said, wow, $500,000 for one person. So where do we find reasonable? We look to other counties, other systems to see what's.
Yeah,
where market values?
It is, there are only a few treatment facilities like this throughout the country that do this kind of specific care. And so it can be really challenging, but we do work closely with them to negotiate the rates. And also when it comes to state hospitals, those rates are negotiated for us through a organization that we work with. So those things are relatively set every year, but these very specific kind of contracts, we have to negotiate, we have to work with the provider and come to something that is kind of the market rate for something so specialized.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any more questions or comments?
If there are no questions or comments, move it.
Moved by Supervisor Neves, second by Supervisor Fagundes. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson.
Yes.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
Okay, item passes. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on now to C, Department of Finance, Rob Knudsen. Morning, Rob.
Morning, board members of the board. Rob Knudsen with the Department of Finance. As you may recall, I was before you last week to conduct a public hearing to establish our, for the introduction of an ordinance establishing our booking fee rate for the fiscal year 23-24. As a quick recap, the proposed calculated fee is $163 per booking, which is about a $13 increase from last year's rate. The change was mainly due to increasing salaries and benefits, of course, and also increased depreciation costs as a result of the capitalization of our construction projects. Again, as I explained last meeting, we are currently not able to use this rate as current legislation prevents that. However, we must still establish it each year in case the state does eliminate our annual funding. If that were to occur, we would be able to charge half of this rate to the cities for each person they bring into our jail. So with that, I ask that you consider adopting this ordinance establishing the booking fee for fiscal year 2023-24 and waive the reading.
Any
Move as
questions?
outlined, Mr. Chair.
And waive the reading?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or-
Moved by Supervisor Neves, second by Supervisor Robinson. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson.
Yes.
Richard Fagundes.
Thank you, Rob. And next we'll have Fire Department, Chief Lynch.
Morning, Vice Chairman, members of the board. Bill Lynch, Kings County Fire Department here with two items I'm very happy to bring to you. First one is the agreement for fire services with the city of Avenel. As you know, we provided fire services for Avenel for many, many years. That includes suppression, EMS, emergency medical, and fire prevention activities. This year, we're asking for a one-year contract effective July 1, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. If you can see from the budget item, this current contract reflects a $25,000 increase, which we're very happy that the city of Avenel was able to support. The city of Avenel is growing. They're getting very busy out there. A lot of things happening out there. So that increase will help support our efforts over there. So I'm here this morning to ask you to approve this agreement with the city of Avenel for fire services from July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. And this contract has been reviewed by county council and approved by form and has been previously approved by the city of Avenel at their, council meeting. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. And Avenel is getting fire service for less than we're taking care of one person in New Jersey. Any question or comment?
Two different things though, Mr. Chair.
I know, but
Yeah.
it's money spent and
Correct,
services received. So we're getting a good deal here and it's a contract on time.
correct.
Move for approval.
Moved by Supervisor Fagundes, second by Supervisor Robinson. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson.
Yes.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
In favor, you have a contract
Thank you.
on time.
By 3 days. That 3 days to spare.
Better late than never, right?
Exactly.
Okay, next item.
Go on? Okay.
Next item, yeah, item A. 2A.
All right, the second item is for the purchase of two Type 1 fire apparatus. Both these apparatus will be replacing aging apparatus located in the cities of Corcoran and the cities of Avenel. This contract, or excuse me, this purchase will not affect the fire fund, I'm happy to say, as it is going to be funded through the Cal OES pass-through grant funding that your board previously approved. Many of our apparatus are aging, and these two are probably some of our oldest. They're at 25 years plus service life, which they start becoming very difficult to maintain and service and find parts for, actually. So I'm here this morning to ask you to authorize the purchase of two Type 1 fire apparatus from Apparatus Solutions. And I'd just like to add something real quick, that this proposal was processed through the purchasing division. And unfortunately, we only received one bid, but it is a vendor that we've worked with before, so we're happy to accept their bid. B, I'd like to authorize the fire chief to sign and administer the purchase agreement and all required documentation for the purchase of this vehicle, and then adopt the budget change, which is 4/5 vote required. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any question or comments for fire chief?
No questions, no comments, move for approval.
Moved by Supervisor Fagundes,
Nev seconds.
second by Supervisor Neves. And so, timeframe.
600 days,
So you'll be
600 days
driving
build time.
home from, where they being built at, Louisiana,
Nebraska.
Nebraska? You gonna drive them home?
600 days. I don't know whether where I'm going to be in 600 days. I'd like to later. Yeah, 2 years from now, I'd like to.
I'm trying to get confirmation here. 600 days. I'll see you in 600 days.
The anticipated, and this is a prepayment. I forgot to mention that, excuse me. You guys already voted, but this is a prepayment that offsets about $111,000 worth of fees that we would have to pay if we waited past June 28th. So
You want to revote?
we're saving money.
Okay.
But yeah, 600 days is the timeframe they're giving us.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Doug Verboon,
Yes.
Rusty Robinson, Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
Okay, 4 in favor. You have 2 new fire trucks coming and you'll be here to accept them.
In 600 days.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Move on now to Public Works Department, and we have Mitchell Cabrera. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Vice Chairman and members of the board. Mitchell Cabrera, Chief Engineer with the Public Works Department. The first item I have before your board is a request to approve lease number 5706031-20FA with the United States Department of Agriculture, the Farm Service Agency. In 2021, the USDA released a request for lease proposal for any interested property owners desiring to lease property to the USDA. USDA has currently been leasing the property in the ag building offices C and E for many years. So the county came before the board, Public Works came before the board to request the lease be submitted and prepared. Public Works has negotiated with USDA. We submitted the RLP, the request for the lease proposal, and have begun the negotiation process. USDA is requesting $138,000 in building improvements that will be paid by the USDA to the county as a lump sum upfront, so the improvements can be done. And then it will be a 10-year lease agreement with the USDA for the existing offices C and D. There will be an increase in the rate. Currently, I believe it's $90,000 per year that comes to the county from their lease of the office space. That will increase to $186,000 or $15,000 per month, which will go to the general fund and the accounts in there. It's a 10-year lease term with step increases of 2% at year number 4 and year number 7. So there are opportunities to renegotiate some of that cost with the USDA. So the request from the department is that your board approve the lease with USDA for the 5721 rentable square feet offices in the agricultural building within the government center.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Moved by Supervisor Fagundes, second by Supervisor Robinson. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson.
Yes.
Richard Fagundes.
4 in favor. Item passes. Thank you. Next item.
Second item before your board this morning is a request for approval of project plans and specifications and also authorization to advertise a construction project. This project is the Avenel Cutoff Roadway Improvements Project, Phase 1. This is the Phase 1 of the Avenel Cutoff reconstruction. The total project is 15 miles, Phase 1 will focus on the first 4.5 miles from State Route 198 to just south of 25th Avenue. This will be a complete reconstruction, reusing the existing material mixed in with cement for a new road section. During construction, the project will maintain full access to the traffic. It'll be staged in a way that we won't have to do a full closure. There will always be 2 lanes open at a time through the use of the K-rails and as was shown on the project plans. There was a note in the plans that there will be a request to always follow the MUTCD traffic control, the manual for uniform traffic control devices to maintain the minimum 10-foot requirement on the open lanes. It'll follow kind of the highway construction where the K-rail is used to separate the active construction zone from the travel lanes. The first step of the project will be widening the shoulders on the east and the west side, and then using the K-rail to begin the FDR, or the reconstruction of what would be the 3 construction lanes. Engineers' estimate for phase 1 is $6.9 million with 90 working days. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. And our request is to approve the advertisement of this project for construction.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Motion approved.
Motion
Nev, second.
moved by Supervisor Robinson, second by Supervisor Neves. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Doug Verboon,
Yes.
Rusty Robinson,
Yes.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
Dave Mitchell passes. Next item.
Okay. Final item I have before your board this morning is another request for approval of the project plans and specifications and also authorizing the construction advertisement. This is for the Highway Safety Improvements Program Cycle 10 Systemic Flashing Beacons Project. In 2020, the County Public Works Department submitted 3 applications through Caltrans through one of their call for projects for the HSIP Cycle 10. 2 out of those 3 projects were awarded. One being the roadside safety sign audit, and then this project, the systemic flashing beacons. In 2022 of June 28th, the board and the county entered into agreement with Wildan Engineering to prepare the project specifications and estimate package for this project. The project will consist of installing the flashing beacons on stop signs and then the advanced warning signs at 8 intersections within the county, and also touch up some of the paint markings, the stop or stop ahead signs. This project is 100% funded and reimbursable through the State Highway Safety Program and the road fund, so no general fund impact. Engineer's estimate is under $200,000 and an expected 50 working days. And like I mentioned, it's 8 intersections within the county. So we request that you approve the project plans and specifications, and then authorize the department to advertise the project for constructions. And then any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Oh, thank you. Any questions or comments? Moved by Supervisor Fagundes, second by Supervisor Neves. We need to have an alert that comes on your phone when you approaching a stop sign, tell you need to stop, because most people are looking down on their phone nowadays.
It is out there.
Yeah.
I just can't believe the people you meet on the road that aren't looking on the road. They're looking down, their face is lit up at night. I'm like, what the hell? Not good.
And are these solar, or are they gonna hook to?
These
They didn't say.
These are the solar flashing beacons that we typically use throughout the county. That does have the battery backup, but mainly solar.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Doug Verboon,
Yes.
Rusty Robinson, Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
Okay, before you sit down, we'll go on to the next item, which is from consent calendar. Item F3.
Yes, Dwayne's gonna
Okay.
come up.
Dwayne?
Good morning, Vice Chairman and Board. Dwayne Cooper, Road Superintendent. And it was brought to my attention about for the award of the annual traffic paint to Enos Flint. It's actually International Coatings. They came in with the lowest bid. We had 6 bids. And their bid was $163,000. And the next one was at 166, and then so on up to $200,000.
So we're going to change Enos Flint to International Coatings.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
Motion.
Moved by Supervisor Robinson, second by Supervisor Fagundes.
I would like to add, we also save money on the emulsion oil too. of almost $400,000.
Good deal. We just, don't
Prices
want- we
are
don't-
going down, but not as quick as we want.
we just want to make sure we award the right contract to the right person. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson.
Yes.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
Okay, 4 in favor is passed. Okay, we'll move on now to administration, item F. Looks like Curie Martinez, you got this?
It's actually going to be Melissa Shuffle.
Oh, Melissa? Morning, Melissa.
Good morning, Vice Chair, members of the board. Melissa Shuffle, Administrative Analyst, Administration. Before you this morning, I have 26 contracts for the indigent defense pursuant to the Trial Court Funding Act. Certain services related to the trial courts were defined as either a court or a county function. One county function is to provide for indigent defense services. Due to not having a public defender office, the county enters into individual contracts with private local attorneys. The county developed a resolution that was last updated in 2016. The resolution establishes a fee schedule for appointment of non-contracted conflict counsel for defense of the accused and for indigent accused contracted panel with respect to a parole revocation hearings resulting from 2011 realignment legislation. So this is additional to the contracts that they received. So there's a resolution in addition to the contracts. Each attorney that works on cases that do not fall under the terms of the agreement submits a claim for reimbursement up to a certain amount as stated in the resolution. The term of each agreement is the term of the agreements before you today are for 12 months, commencing on July 1st, 2023. All agreements have been reviewed and approved by County Council as to form. The recommended budget for fiscal year 23-24 includes expenses anticipated with these agreements in the amount of $2,682,872. There's 4 different types of contracts. We have felony contracts. There are 14 of those. And within that, those 14 contracts, there is also one that is for a coordination fee that we pay so that there's somebody that oversees all of the attorneys. Those are at $120,040 a year per contract. Misdemeanor contracts, there's 7 of those at $81,845. And within that, we do have another misdemeanor contract that is paid at a 1/3 rate for $27,281 annually. We do have 3 juvenile contracts at $94,677 annually. And 1 conflict contract that picks up any conflicts that might occur so that we try to remedy any of the resolutions that we have to pay. If you have no further questions, I ask that you approve the agreements with Melina Biddinghoff, Greg Blevins, Jeffrey Boggs, Marianne Gilbert, Hugo Gomez Vidal, Shani Jenkins, Ralph Cable, Carlos Narvetti, James Oliver, Ramirez Law Firm Incorporated, Ishmael Rodriguez, Robert Stover, Jim Ace Trevino, Nima Vakili, Robert Bartlett, Cheryl Harbottle, James Harbottle, Afreen Cable, Tanya Lee, Jamil Nushwat, Ishmael Rodriguez, Marcus Torgian, sorry, Karen Butler, William Bilbo, Kevin Thompson, and Brent Woodward to provide indigent defense services as specified.
Any question or comments?
Move is printed, not pronounced. Just in case, just in case.
Moved by Supervisor Nev, second by Supervisor Fagundes. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Doug Verboon.
Yes,
Rusty Robinson.
Yes.
Richard Fagundes.
thank you.
I do have the next one as well, which is for the Well Path Services. The board first considered providing medical and mental health services through a contract provider in March of 21. When the board approved a request for proposal process and subsequently approved the initial agreement with It's CFMG, so the California Forensic Medical Group. Sorry. This initial contract continued through November 30, 2014. On December 1st, 2014, another request for proposal process occurred. And it was with NAFCare, took over that contract for the services. The contract agreement with NAFCare expired on June 30th, 2020. The county requested another request for proposal in the spring of 2020, and the county entered into agreement with the California Forensic Medical Group Incorporated and its management services organization WellPath for medical and behavioral health care services in the county's local detention facilities, July 1, 2020 through June 30, 2024. The agreement provides a system of healthcare in each facility to include on-site access to nursing, medical, behavioral health, dental, pharmacy, and radiology services. The negotiated agreement is for the 4-year term, starting July 1, 2020, with a 2-year extension options thereafter. The county is entering its 4th year with WellPath, and the amendment is requested to add an increase from the Bureau of Labor Statistics Medical Care Cost Index with the Western Region Consumer Index, Price Index, CPI for short, with WellPath. The amendment for the 4th year of the contract in fiscal year 23-24 is $6,213,556, which includes the base annual compensation of $5,678,353, factoring in an increase of the CPI of 5.1%, and also $535,203 in off-site cost and pharmacy cap cost that were also subject to the CPI increase of 5.1%. This is an overall increase of $301,514 from the initial contract amount. The cost shall not exceed 5.5% in any contract year. The contract is paid for by 4 departments, including Sheriff's Office, Probation Department, Behavioral Department, Health Department, Public Health Department. The cost of these services are included in the 23-24 recommended budget. The county looks at the CPI each year for the contract and works with WellPath to negotiate an amended contract amount as necessary. The CPI clause is built in to the current contract, so this requested amendment is an automatic clause trigger that triggers an amendment based on the CPI for the next contractual year. The amendment has been reviewed and approved by County Council as to form. I do have the sheriff here if you have any additional questions for WellPath, and you speak on how the services are provided within the jail. I do ask if you have no further questions to approve the 3rd amendment to the agreement with California Forensic Medical Group Incorporated for the provisions of medical, behavioral health, and dental care services for individuals detained in the Kings County Jail and the Kings County Juvenile Center.
Thank you, Melissa. Any questions or comments from Melissa? Any? Moved by Supervisor Fagundes.
Nev, second.
Second by Nevs. Any questions for the sheriff? He's awake. We're good. No questions. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Doug Verboon,
Yes.
Rusty Robinson.
Yes.
Richard Fagundes.
Okay, thank you. 4 in favor. Okay, I think next one's going to be Area.
Good morning, Vice Chair, members of the board, Carrie Martinez, CAO. Before your morning is consideration issuing a 4th order amending your board's 3rd order prohibiting recreational activity on the river and closure of the levees and parks that are about the river in response to a local emergency due to flooding. On March 10th, 2023, the Kings County Emergency Services Director issued Proclamation 2301 proclaiming a local emergency in Kings County due to conditions of disaster and safety of persons and property caused by the large amounts of snow melt accumulated in the Sierra Nevada mountains. Since then, your board has issued 3 separate orders to manage floodwaters and regulate public access in and around water bodies and waterways. Flood release and flow rates continue to evolve in the county's waterways, making it reasonable to amend your board's 3rd order, which was issued on April 4th, 2023. Flows in the river channels have now reduced and are consistent with levels appropriate for access in proper public access areas. The fourth order before you this morning will amend the third order allowing access on public access areas of levees in the county. Proper repairs have been made to levees, washout, and Empire 2 south of Stratford. This access will allow for recreational activities enjoyed by many in the county, such as fishing with friends and family in the summer months. The fourth order also amends the third order by prohibiting individuals from being in or on the waters of the main Kings River, Dutch John Cut, and North Fork channels when flows rates are in the Kings River below people weirs, which are greater than 5,000 cubic feet per second. The fourth order also amends the third order to remove concerns over the use of airspace around the waterways and water bodies in the county. As the Tulare Lake has seen growth over the past weeks, the use of airspace is not posing the safety concerns it once did when the start flooding occurred. And all other provisions in the first three orders remain in full effect. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. I do have Abraham Valencia, Kings County OES. He's going to talk a little bit about our campaign that we're going to switch off from staying alive campaign.
Good morning, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board, Abraham Valencia, Kings County Office of Emergency Services. So as you know, in the last couple of months, we've been very engaged in this emergency, and we're pleased to say we're starting to see things receding, pun intended. And so with that said, at the beginning, we had a posture where we were recommending people to stay out of our waterways and that, stay out, stay alive. But now after discussions, with the sheriff, with fire chief and everybody in the EOC, we've come to a consensus that based on the flows as the order amendment is suggesting, we believe now it's stay safe, stay alive. And so unfortunately in the region, not in our county, but in the region, there has been lives lost due to water recreation. But based on the small amount of flows that we're seeing in our waterways, we feel that, it would be okay for people to safely go out there and have some fun, but in a safe manner. And so we'll be rolling out a campaign to encourage and emphasize the importance of being safe, but at the same time, having fun and being protected. So I'm free for any questions.
So at this point, which part of the rivers, all the rivers in Kings County or just portions of the river will be open?
I believe right now it would be the South Fork. It's based on flows, so I don't know if Sheriff knows a little more about that.
I do. I brought the numbers this morning and some additional information. Thank you, Abraham. Sheriff Dave Robinson. As of yesterday, the river flow below Peoples Weir, which is basically the county line, was 4,550 cubic feet per second. And the river below Lemoore Weir was 2,610 cubic feet per second as of yesterday. Okay. We did get notification yesterday also that at the releases at the Pine Flat Dam, we're going to go up 500 cubic feet per second. So that'll have a super minimal impact at those two locations by the time it gets to Kings County. I have additional information too, but I don't want to take away from Abraham.
Good.
Well, I think as the heat increases this weekend, we may see higher flows or more usage. So it should stay the same, depending on how the dam panics and releases more water than necessary. We'll see how that goes.
And I think you're right, Mr. Chair, because the temperatures out of the dam are at 51 degrees. And so I think as the ambient temperature gets higher, that range is going to be quite big. And so I think life preservers and mosquito repellent, as well as sunblock should be added to this stay alive messaging. Because I think the sun's going to be extremely hot, the water's going to be extremely cold. And people that are not in a real good health condition, that can affect them very rapidly. And so
or Irish people.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of challenges with today's order. And obviously these things come, at the last minute sometimes, and I apologize for that, but it just is what it is. I spoke with the Fresno County Sheriff, John Zanoni, last week. They do not plan on opening their side of the river yet. They don't have a specific time frame on that. The challenge that we have in Kings County is people get in the river in Kings County and Fresno County, but they get out of the river in Fresno County at Layton Park. because the Kings County side, our park has been closed for years. So if they get into the river on Kings County side and it gets opened, they have no way to get out. So that's a challenge for us today as we sit today. The other challenge that we have is yesterday afternoon, late afternoon, Neil Bellamy reached out to me. He manages the weir system for us in Kings County for Last Chance Ditch Company. They control the weir that is near the golf course. That weir is very popular for floaters. When they get in upstream, they get out across the Last Chance Ditch Company property and get back in to go around around that weir safely, which during a normal season, you can safely get out pretty easily. He sent me a photograph and there's about an 8-foot dirt wall right now because of the flows were so high. So normally where the floaters would get out to safely go around that weir, that does not exist now. So his recommendation to me yesterday was please do not open this area up to floating because there's no way for them to get out until the water level drops more and they can get in there and fix that. And so in light of that, now I also had my staff go out and evaluate twice in the last week. There's a lot of trees down, but they're up in the flooding areas that have already receded. And so my staff does feel comfortable in our ability to respond anywhere on our system in Kings County that we can respond to anything. So if your board decides to open things up, we can respond. But those are the couple of big challenges that we have today. So I have a modified suggestion for you this morning. Lemoore Weir is at 2610. That's a super low flow that we can easily handle. Your board could easily modify this to say, let's open it from Lemoore Weir south, which would include the South Fork. And let's keep the other area closed to floating, which that gives us the Fresno County side and the Kings County side would be consistent in that it's closed to floating and people can't get out of the water. We have a lot of property owners that want access to their property simply to get in the water and swim, et cetera. And currently under the current order, they're not even supposed to put their feet in the water, but they own acres and acres and acres of land along the waterway. And so I think the safer bet today until Fresno County comes on board and opens up the Fresno County side as we should, based on the photo that Neil sent me, there's no access out of the river to get around that weir. And so I think, based on that, we might need to modify this and open below the Lemoore Weir, but keep the other area from the Kings County line to the Lemoore Weir closed to floating until Fresno County opens theirs and the floaters have a safe access point to get around that weir. So that would be my comments this morning.
So landowner access is approved, no floaters, unless you go Lemoore Weir down.
Lemoore Weir down. Yeah, you said it a lot simpler than I did. But I know that takes some tweaking of the language that Matt worked really hard on this, and I think he's gone today, but Matt has been working really hard on this the last couple of weeks, and we've all sent him a lot of suggested language, but it's just ever changing based on the current.
I talked to the river manager and he asked that, no one be allowed to float off of 43. It's too dangerous.
Yeah.
And so it needs to recite a little bit, so receive a little bit. So I think that's good. I think that gives people an opportunity. There are some landowners that have their 4th of July parties that own their property that want to have it on the beach there. I don't want to take up our services to tell them to leave if it's okay, but floaters, they can't get out. So just make it safe for them and then give us a couple weeks to get prepared.
And I think if the board's direction today was what you just expressed, as long as you give direction that we can work with county council and county administration to tweak the language based on that direction, I think we can.
I'm okay with that.
What I'm recommending is that if this is the action of the board today, we can go ahead and amend the proposed order. And then as part of the action today, you could give the chairman of the board to authority to sign that order consistent with the direction given.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
It's kind of mute on the Tulare Lake. Do we want to add Tulare Lake to that?
The Tulare Lake, because it's all private property.
Exactly.
It really,
I don't want to confuse the public.
Yeah, so the easiest thing would to say I guess you could say that the South Fork is still closed below Empire Pool number 2.
Exactly.
And that encompasses anywhere from below the Stratford Bridge that, where the weir there is. And that would encompass, the Tulare Lake. It's,
Yeah, or even down a little farther, because there's some fishing operations.
there is some
that go
fishing
down through
operations.
there, and I don't know if you want to
Yeah.
single out the fishing operations.
Right, yeah, it would just be in the water access below Empire Pier Tool, Empire Pier, Pool number 2, sorry.
Yeah,
hard to
because,
say.
those guys fish all the way.
Yeah, fishing along the banks, as long as the property owners are okay with it, we don't have a problem with, but in water access below Empire Weir Pool would definitely be my recommendation that we call that out.
Yeah. Good enough?
Yep.
So move as amended.
Moved by Supervisor Neves, second by Supervisor Robinson. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson. Richard Fagundes.
I'll have one question, Sheriff. Did you receive your new airboat?
Yes, the airboat arrived yesterday. Thank you for asking. Now, there's already been some comments about the flashiness of the airboat. It's painted patriotic colors, which actually works well for us. And I had two options. One was that, and one was a subdued option. But the subdued option, we'd have then had to put graphics on it, so that way it was easily identifiable. So we went with the more robust version. So that way, when people see that boat, they'll know that it belongs to the sheriff's office.
So have you have the train?
Yeah, so we've reached out. We've got a quote from a trainer who can come out in about a week and do training for 5 staff
You don't
members.
self-train?
Not on that one. We've been advised that that's one where you should probably get some professional training, because I guess they can easily be sunk if you make hard right turns.
Good, okay.
Yeah, Menlo Park Fire Department in California sunk one about a year ago on a hard right turn. And so we were told you need to get professional training for this.
Okay.
So we're working on it. We should be up and running in about 2 weeks.
Okay, good deal. And your dive team ready to go right now?
Yeah, dive team's ready to go. I'm not sure if the board's aware, if we brought it up. Chief Lynch and I, we've partnered. They had a couple of water rescue members that had some specialized training in water rescue. And so they've joined our water rescue unit. And so throughout the summer, we're teaming up to do anything we can to keep everybody safe.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the 4th of July.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on now to board member comments. You want to start it off today, Supervisor Robinson? I know you had a busy weekend.
I missed the memo on the suntan lotion. Let's see, let me go way back to last Tuesday, cut airboard spots for TV and billboard. Tried to convince them to put Supervisor Verboon on a couch on a billboard, but nobody liked my idea. Thursday, Supervisor Verboon and I met with the mayor, vice mayor on homelessness, and then Matthew Tuttle, who's the Assemblyman Mathis's chief of staff. Friday,
We
Supervisor,
met with the city of Hanford too,
City of Hanford.
the 2 members of Hanford City Council.
Yes, and yeah, we did that also on Thursday. We met with the mayor and the vice mayor in regards to homelessness. And let's see, on Friday, Supervisor Verboon and I toured Diablo Canyon. That was a real treat. I didn't see any pelicans with 2 heads or anything of that nature, but I did see it teeming with life. It was incredible. You'd probably have to go to Channel Islands to see life like that. Lots of sea lions, lots of pelicans, things of that nature. Currently, it makes about 8% of California's power. Extremely impressive in a very condensed place. They did give us a boat ride. Unfortunately, I swallowed some of the water, so if I act irregular, then we probably don't want to do atomic power in the future. I think it's say again.
How can you tell?
Well, tonight when I go home, if I start glowing, I'm sure my wife will let me know. I believe just based on everything that we saw, that it's still the power of the future. They made some comments about Fukushima and this and that, and I guess Fukushima was pretty low to sea level. And when the power went out, the backup generators were supposed to come on, which I think they did. But then the wave, the tsunami took it out. This is like 65 feet up. So not going to happen. And all their projections, the highest the waves can go is like 35 feet. So impressive operation over there. And I'm grateful to Nathan Alonso for taking us to that. there's 98 nuclear power plants in the United States. And there's 2 reactors over there. And reactor number 1 normally ranks number 1 in the United States for safety and other measures. Reactor number 2 is normally in the top 5. So pretty safe. Sunday, I built sandcastles with my kid. That's why I look this way. And then yesterday, Supervisor Boone and I met with Mayor, Vice Mayor, several members of the city and the county together to discuss homelessness again, so that we can reach a conclusion. So that was my week.
Very good. Thank you. Supervisor Fagundes.
This last week I had KCAO, they discussed some property that they wanted to purchase for some structures and buildings they want to do. And then on Thursday, I had Commission on Aging. They're always discussing the next party, so they're trying to get that going. And it's good, but it's really a chore to keep everything going like she does. Thank you.
He's here. Joey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Continue to deal with some of the Tulare Lake stuff, whether it's the seepage or the fishermen or the mosquitoes. Bobby and I had the Kings Tulare Master Plan for Aging continues to meet. And this month, we kind of focused on housing, high interest rates and construction costs, just putting a bind on a lot of folks in fixed income and difficult to build new. So it's going to be a continued challenge for affordable housing in the future. Then on Saturday, went over to Avenel to enjoy their 4th of July celebration on June 24th. So it always works out better. You beat the crowd, you get over, see all the fireworks and have all the food, and it turned out to be a great night. So especially with the high temperatures projected for this weekend and the 4th of July weekend. I think sunscreen, and as you can tell, sunscreen is probably should be one of the things that you purchase. And if you're going to be around the water, life preservers and water safety is always important. And alcohol and water don't mix, but I have a tendency to be able to do that from time to time. But I don't go swimming, so makes a little bit of a difference. So with that, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Move on now to board correspondence.
For board correspondence, Kings County CDA sent a notice of public hearing for the Kings County Planning Commission, which will take place on Monday, July 3rd at 7 p.m. Your board received an email correspondence dated June 26, where you are extended an invitation for the official drawing selection ceremony for the 23-24 grand jury. The ceremony will take place Wednesday, June 28th at 2 p.m. at the Jury Assembly Room at the Kings County Superior Court. For upcoming events, this Thursday, June 29th at 8:30 a.m., the City of Lemoore Parks and Recreation is hosting a Witness for Fitness walking and exercise program at the Lemoore Recreation Center. The Kings County Library is hosting an event to meet Randall McGee and the Roark the Dragon on Thursday, June 29th at 10 a.m. in the Hanford Civic. The Dragon will also be doing stand-up comedy and original songs the same day at 1 p.m. in Ormona Community Library and the Corcoran Branch Library on Friday, June 30th at 1 p.m. The events are free. The California Health Collaborative will be hosting an Avenel Community Picnic and Education Night on Friday, June 30th from 5 to 7 p.m. There will be a Kings County Employee Blood Drive on Thursday, July 13th from 9 to 1. Buses will be here on campus located on the parking lot closest to Old Sheriff's parking lot. Walk-ups are welcome. However, for fast registration, we recommend scheduling online. And save the date for the ribbon cutting of the Kings Building, August 30th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. For upcoming agenda items, these will be for July 11th as July 4th meeting has been canceled. Administration has an item to recognize the Employee Recognition Committee members for the 2023 barbecue success. Ag Department has an item regarding agreement with the California Department of Food and Agriculture. Assessor Clerk Recorder has an amendment tax reassessment for property damage. The second reading, CDA has 2 items, a partial item for a Williamson Act contract. DA has an item regarding continued participation in the Violence Against Women program. Election has 2 items for Assembly Bill 1416 on a ballot label and ballot print and mail election service agreement. Public Health has an item regarding a local grant, and public probation has an agreement with King's Youth for the treatment services to probation youth. And that concludes my items. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, we'll move on to closed session, conference with labor negotiator, meet and confer, Government Code Section 54957.6. Negotiators Kerry Martinez, Carolyn Least, Jay Johnson of Liberty Cassidy Whitmore. We have General Unit Closia, Supervisor Unit Closia, Blue Collar SCIU, Detention Deputy Association, Firefighters Association, Deputy Sheriff's Association, Probation Officers Association, Prosecutors Association, and unrepresented management for discuss. And at this time, we'll adjourn. We're taking July 4th off, and we're back here on July 11th. Please be safe this weekend and pay attention to others that aren't being safe. So enjoy your weekend. Thank you.